We got to keep this tight. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
What do we have an exact time?
I mean, like 30. I don't know.
Good luck.
One characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. It was grit.
Well, cheers to our first podcast in like 10 years.
I know. Sad. What do you got
Do you
there?
have a drink?
I sure
I've got Cab. I've been going more wines lately, as you know.
Yeah, I still haven't really done the wine thing. I probably need to expand my horizons. I have a Christmas ale, Bell's Christmas ale.
Yeah. Wine just
Scotch
doesn't
ale.
make me feel so... Beer makes me feel full and tired.
Oh yeah, I will I might fall asleep halfway through this conversation. So just
Yeah. Cocktails are just aggressive sometimes, and they have a lot of sugar. I mean, I'll drink a cocktail. Like that's not that... but
that's my
wine just feels a little bit like watered down. I guess like a little... I don't know. It's more chill.
Somewhere in the middle maybe.
Yeah.
Beer can be rough, but this is tasting good, so I'm going with it. The winter, I'm ready for like winter beer season.
It should be already.
Yeah, so like I'm more like likely to have a beer now than I would, because I love IPAs and stuff, but I don't do too well with them. So okay, so since in the name of keeping it tight, which we've already not done, we have a list. We each kind of put together a list of, I guess, stuff, cool things, mostly software, I guess, that we think is cool.
Yeah. Since everybody's talking about AI tools right now, we figured we'd talk mostly about non-AI tools, although that's all we've talked about so far. But
yeah,
we'll talk about like regular tools, but ones that maybe you probably haven't heard of.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll go with what's on. If you're watching the YouTube video, you can watch what's on my screen. But so I'm using both Kyle and I think Kyle's using this now, but we have been
am I supposed to see your screen? I don't think I can see your screen.
No, my video feed.
Oh, are you gonna do show and tell right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not showing my screen. I'm just gonna show what happens to my video feed.
Okay. I didn't know what was first on your list here. Okay.
Yeah. So I upgraded to the most recent OS on my Mac and started using the iPhone. I don't know. I think it's the Apple camera, like continuity. Like I don't know what it's called actually, but basically just like they're like using the iPhone as your camera. You could do that before with Camo, which is what I've used, and it's been awesome. It's been really, really great. But I just got this running, and it's been pretty solid. And one of the things you can do is adjust a lot of like the look and feel of, obviously the video feed. So like one of the things I was gonna do, because my room is like a little bit dark, I was gonna buy like $100 light for my face or whatever. Not a ring light, but like one of those things that's kind of like a ring light.
Yeah.
And then I got this thing, and it has this. Let me see if I can do it real quick. So you're watching my video feed, and it has video effects, and one of them is studio light. So here it goes. Boom. You notice anything? Oh, now I can't hear you. What happened? Did you mute it?
Yeah, I muted. My bad.
Sorry. Was you were screaming? It was amazing, right?
I said a little bit.
a little bit. On my end, it looks like it really made things brighter, but yeah, it actually it made my face a lot brighter, and I didn't have to pay for a light, so that's nice. But it has a bunch of other cool stuff. Like you can do center stage, which like follows you around the room. So if I do this center stage thing, it kind of makes the video a little crappier.
So you can kind of like do a TED talk, and
yeah, I can like come over.
You just need to have like a little headset mic for this.
Follow me all the way over here. It's kind of crazy that it can follow you as far as it does to the right or the left.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool. I've heard a lot of complaints about the built-in whatever studio display camera like the quality is just bad, but the cropping the like cropping following thing is kind of cool.
Yeah,
it feels like magic.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I'm like, my guess is it will, they just got this out, so they're probably going to be adding a lot to it, I would assume. So yeah, it's been pretty solid. I think I'm like already, like I think I like this better than Camo, just it's a little bit easier to use. There's
This is how it
less
happens.
clicks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sad.
Camo was awesome.
I'm still
Camo's
using
cool.
Camo. Shout out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is the tough part about getting devoured is it's like, even if it's not as good, it's like, it's just there. So
Yeah. So I would, if you have a Mac and you have an iPhone, you should definitely upgrade to the next operating system and give it a try. But the camera is like, using your iPhone as a camera is almost as good as you can get in terms of a webcam. So don't go buy a webcam, waste of money. Like, just use your iPhone.
yeah, it's like, especially, I mean, for us, this is like the only time you might hear the dog in the background. This is the only time I use a webcam mostly. I have like a crappy one that's on top of my monitor if I'm going to do like some sort of basic video call. But yeah, if you care about quality, it's like, it's kind of expensive to get a good webcam. And like most of your basic Zoom calls, it doesn't matter if you have like 4K coming across. So
yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, when you were talking about Webflow and wanting to do stuff there and having a hard time, because it's kind of like, it's definitely easier than like hand rolling a website in a way, but it's also like sometimes you have to get down to that level. We've recently been using TypeDream. I don't know if we talked about that on here before, but that's a cool website. I mean, there's a bunch of website builders and stuff, and we've used some of them, like Card in the past. But TypeDream is kind of cool. It's kind of like if Notion built, I think I talked about this, if Notion built a website builder. So I wanted to mention that because it was kind of relevant to what you were talking about, which is like a little bit, it doesn't give you as much power, but it's also like pretty, it's a little easier to like
It's easier.
throw out a bunch of multi-page websites, and it looks just like good by default mostly. That's part of the challenge with these is like you're on that spectrum of like, it's good by default and harder to customize, whereas Webflow is like extremely flexible, and therefore you have to like do stuff.
You have to know a lot.
Yeah, it's like more work. But
yeah, I got like a very basic version of Docs Fresh up like very quickly, and it was, I mean, I did it in like an hour.
Yeah, you can use like their templates, and it's like, oh, this, and kind of like what you think you should be able to do, you can kind of just do.
Yeah. That's the annoying thing about a Webflow. You're like, wait, why is this not working? This doesn't make sense. Like, this is how my brain thinks that this should work, and it's not happening.
It's kind of a mix of drag and drop and not. So I think it's hard. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I can just move it, but then it doesn't do what you want. So
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, TypeDream is pretty cool, and it has a cool thing that we've used where you can hook up like a Notion database as a CMS, so you can like host your blog. You can write your blog in your Notion account and like sync the content, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So check that out. Yeah, back to you.
My turn.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have been using for like the last like probably 2 years is called thanks.com. THNKS.com. I guess it's kind of like a marketplace for things that you can send to people, and it makes it really easy. So like typically, if you want to send something to a customer, you got to ask them like, what's your address, like all that stuff, and that's even harder now because a lot of people work remotely. So you're like, then you're asking like for personal address, like there's all these different things to like basically just be able to send someone a gift card or something. But this site basically is like a marketplace, kind of like, it's like Amazon with a bunch of different options for things that you could, buy for somebody. There you go. So imagine you wanted to send someone a quick like Starbucks gift card or a bottle of wine or whatever. They have like a million options. And the cool thing is you can just do it via email. So like you basically buy it, as long as you have their email address, it's basically going to send them an email telling them that you just gifted them this thing. And then they can go through the process of like giving their address and stuff so that it's not like, super personal, getting their address and all that kind of stuff. They just give that stuff and then it will send whatever that thing is to them. Obviously, if it's like a gift card or something, that even becomes easier. Because you can just do that over email, but it's so easy to use. And I've literally used it like on a call. Like I've been on a call where we had somebody that was like kind of upset, not really at us. They were kind of like internally upset, like at the other person on the call from their company. They were like arguing. I don't know. It wasn't a good call, right? It was like kind of a negative call. And everybody has these where maybe a customer's unhappy or whatever. And so like on the call to like try to like chill things out. Like I basically, while they were talking and like arguing with each other and stuff, I just went on thanks and I did like $20 gift cards for like DoorDash or something. And I was like, hey, just wanted to, just let you know, like check your inbox. Like I just sent everybody a $20 gift card because this took a lot longer than we all thought. And I just want to make sure, you guys had a good meal today and like whatever, just like everybody's happy. And I just sent that over and they were like blown away, which is like, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I think, that doesn't happen that often. Like it's, that's not something that people get, especially in our world. And so I think, it just makes it really simple and really fast to be able to do that kind of stuff. Obviously you can do this internally too. So like send for like birthdays and stuff like that. I'm sending people, we have people in the Philippines and in other places where it's like, it's really hard for me to like send them something like a physical goods, thing. Yeah. And so this makes it really easy. I know like Starbucks is like something that will exist in the Philippines and I can just be like, hey, I'll give them like a $20 gift card to Starbucks and they can go get whatever they want. And it just makes it really easy. So I would definitely check that out. It's free to have an account and you just basically pay a very small fee, like on top of like whatever you spent, like if you buy like a, Starbucks card or whatever. But like, obviously this is big for, the holiday season. And if you're going to send your customers gifts, they even have packages for things like, Girls Who Code and like different organizations. You can just give money on behalf of your customers and things like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. And it's one of those, like, once you know how quick it is, it's nice that you can do it like you did on a call.
I've done a lot. Boom,
do it.
Yeah. I've done a lot.
Like as soon as it's kind of like how Amazon, unfortunately, for better and for worse, I guess, has become like people will think of a thing they need instead of writing like a list. They just go get it. It's like easier to just check the thing off the list than, which obviously has maybe some downsides, but this is not on my list, but a quick reference to Arc, because that's what I'm using right now. Browser, like all the cool kids are using. Mm-hmm. And then there's me also using it. And I guess I'm using it right now in a kind of a cool way. They have a built-in like side-by-side view. So I have Riverside Podcast Studio up on one, and then I drag a tab to the right, and it's like side-by-side view. So it's pretty cool. So, and then in Riverside, I just shared that one tab. So it's like treated like a standalone tab. Pretty cool. Not on my list, but figured I would mention that since I'm actually using it. Let's see. This is in no particular order, by the way, but I'm just kind of like... The other thing I was going to mention was Clap. This is something we've been trying out a little bit internally. We haven't like gone all in on it necessarily, but it's pretty cool. Like I think for how we use it, I don't totally... Like we don't have any meetings mostly. We have very few meetings, so it doesn't... Some of the copy doesn't really like speak to me, but I'm assuming there's more people that do have that problem, so I guess I get it. But it's kind of an internal video tool with comments. Like that, the big thing is like Loom has taken off, which I get, and it's like very easy to record a video and then share the link or whatever. And they've added some features around like commenting and reacting and stuff and like editing. But this is like very geared toward internal. So you can have different like workspaces or whatever they call them, like kind of like channels in Slack or something. So you can have different groups, like an engineering channel, and then you can post videos in there. And then you can comment on the video, like you can see in this little demo, like you can comment at parts of the video. And so like the comments are actually in line, but they also show up on the right. And then you can do threaded comments, and they're adding video replies. So you can reply with a video in the same thing. And I think there's a lot of tools that are doing this kind of stuff. So it can be hard to like figure out like where the boundaries are for all these things. But one thing they've done that's pretty cool to me is if you do use their browser extension, they'll inject a little like tab on the, let's see if they show it here somewhere, but they can inject a little tab onto like the apps you already use to like click and record, which again is not super novel, but it makes it really easy to like, if I'm reviewing code on GitHub, there's a little button and I can just click record and record a video without even leaving the code review, and it'll just drop the link into so they have like site level integrations with popular tools. And then if you have the extension installed, any of the site links to a clap video will just like expand into a player. So it feels like it's almost like any product we use that clap supports, which is like mainly GitHub is what we use, and Notion maybe. It feels like those tools have built like video support in a way if you're using clap, because it's like I can add a comment that's a video link and it has a player and I just don't have to think about it, which is pretty cool.
I feel like a lot of people it's all the rage right now to do things that focus on giving feedback at like on top of like a file or like within a file or throughout a file.
More like high fidelity commenting and discussion type stuff. And that's what we've always talked about with Notion, or with generally like centering discussions around work as opposed to like a discussion tool like Slack and then work tools. I mean, that's what Google Docs was so cool at first, because it was like you can comment on like a paragraph and be like, this is bad or whatever. Right. Instead of emailing PDFs back and forth with feedback and trying to like figure it all out. So anyway, so it's another step in that direction.
Yeah. So that's kind of similar to one of the ones that I have on the list. So
I have no idea if my video is going to be part of this. Now that I'm sharing my screen, so we'll see, I guess.
I think it is. If you share your screen, I think, TLDV. I don't know what the website is, but
.io maybe.
It's kind of I feel like it's a terrible name. Like, I don't know what's happening with that. I mean, I get why they call it that, but basically, it's a way. So like, there's actually a lot of tools that do stuff like this, but there wasn't a lot of tools for Google Meet, which is what we use for meetings. So basically, it records your video meetings and then makes it really easy while you're on the meeting to sort of jot notes and like basically indicate highlights at certain points of the video of like what's being talked about or some note or whatever. And then those are, those are basically like comments throughout the video that are recorded or highlighted. So then you can share, that snippet of like what you said. And then, it basically over, I don't know what it does. Like the next minute it records that and you can send those highlights internally or externally or whatever, to basically, for example, like if you heard some feedback or something, you wanted to share that with the product team, or if, there was some component of it where you wanted to give some teaching point to like the sales rep that was on the call or something like that. So like, obviously the big player in this industry is Gong, but it's more of like, it's more strictly focused on sales. Whereas this, I would say, is a little bit more focused on like support and product. That's kind of the crowd that they're going after. And it's obviously like they're built on top of Google Meet.
It's more like generic. Different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a more generic input, I guess. Yep.
So if you're a Google Meet user, I think it's free. Ours is free because we've been using it since the beginning, like since they started. I think it's free to use, and there's like little like upgrade levers and stuff. But at a very minimum, I think it's worth a try if you're doing a lot of demos or calls with customers, and just give it a shot. And especially if you have like a team that needs to hear, it would be valuable for your teammates to hear things that were on like your calls that you had with a customer, to be able to share that knowledge and talking points and different, feedback and things like that. So, I would check it out.
Yeah. I think this is also an interesting place where AI could be layered into an existing product to just after I record a thing, just try to like go figure out where the like chapter markers are for me. Mm-hmm. I've been experimenting with a podcast app that does this called Snipped. And you can like, you can request like an AI, analysis of the episode, and it'll give you like chapter markers based on what it thinks is being talked about. And you can
on
also...
the podcast?
Yeah,
like
on the podcast. Yeah.
Mm.
And then you can even like do highlights. Like you can just click a button and it'll just try to capture like a segment. It tries to figure out where to like crop it for you, which is pretty cool.
That's what I would want. Like, so I've been trying to, trying to build like clips of our podcast to put out there on like different social media channels and like do more of that. Because when we have done it,
oh yeah, we should just
like
try
we've seen
using
like
their thing, see if it's any good. Actually.
Yeah,
it's not meant for like, or it's not. It's meant for like listeners, right? So it's like I'm listening to like
Yeah.
you know, some podcasters trying to learn stuff, and so I can like use it to like splice out highlights. But I guess you could probably use it and try to see what it comes up with.
Dude, it would be awesome. It would be awesome if, so you know how Medium does that, like people that read your article on, I don't know if I'm saying this like everybody uses Medium stuff.
I know.
But
I'm like, harken back 10 years and remember what Medium is.
I've looked at it recently. It's actually like pretty awesome. Like it's still like, I think it's
just a sad,
good.
It's like, it's so nicely
ending.
made and stuff. And it was so good in the day, but it's just kind of fizzled.
But you could go on there and you could like highlight, you remember you as like someone that's reading the article, like you could highlight certain portions, and then like
it was one of the first that I remember that had like that native highlighting and like sharing sort of thing.
It would be really cool if people, when they were listening to our podcast, that they can mark parts of the podcast that they liked. Like they could highlight
like
stuff in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then
or like how Kindle does that too. It's like popular highlight or whatever.
Yep.
Like,
and then you basically get in, like as the podcast owner, you get informed that these are the parts that people liked. And
like
then
this is the resonating part. Yeah, that's cool.
You can be like, you know, export all highlights or whatever. And it just like makes them like, we just get the video or whatever, since we do video, the video and the audio.
It's like you're crowdsourcing like promotion basically.
Yeah.
And probably like feedback for your own knowledge of like what's resonating with people.
It's kind of weird when you're doing it yourself. You're like, oh, this is really interesting what I just said here. It's like, I don't know.
No, I think it's better if you just consider it like, hey, we put it like, assuming you have some number of subscribers, you publish the episode, you let them like that first wave of subscribers listen, and then you take the highlights, assuming they have some, because that would be the bad part is if there aren't any. Assuming there are some highlights, then you just like automatically like feed those into like Twitter or whatever, and that's the end of it.
Well,
like you're not like
not Twitter, it's the worst one. But
whatever, you know what I mean? Mastodon,
TikTok,
wherever the
you're like what TikTok? I mean, we talked about this on another episode, but like it's pretty crazy when you start to upload that stuff. You're like, nobody's gonna care at all about this. Like no one's gonna look at this. And then next thing you know, you look back and you're like, oh, I have like 1,000 views. What? Like, how?
Yeah.
What's happening?
The power of promotion on these
algorithms.
These reach is insane.
Yeah. So anyways, I've been wanting to do more of that. I've been using Recast.studio, and they have Recast.studio, and they actually have some new feature that's like they're labeling as AI, and it'll create like a bunch of clips, which I was like, oh snap, this is awesome. Like I was actually thinking of hiring somebody for this. But when it creates the clips and they're like a minute long or like longer, and I'm like, this does not make sense for like, it's cool that they're doing that.
More like bite-sized type.
Yeah. I need something that's like 10 seconds long or like maybe 20 seconds long. So it's cool that they're able to.
So you could just create the clips, then feed the clip back in, and then do another clip. Like
that's basically
a recursive clip. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that eventually the clip gets to be like 10 seconds long.
I'm sure it'll get better. Like they just launched it, and
I'm sure all these tools that do this will kind of try to experiment with making this better.
But then at that point, there's going to be so many of these clips all over the place, and everyone's doing it that there's no longer like any advantage to like doing this stuff and putting it out on social media. It's like there's too much crap out there. So it's like I need to get it before AI takes over the creative process and the clipping process, which sounds like it'll be soon. Yeah. And everybody will be doing it.
Yeah, I'm ready for the hype to sort of ease a little bit. I mean, it's obviously a big deal. I think it's pretty powerful stuff. But
I mean, it's cool because you can actually see, like it kind of sucks now. Like it's really not that, like it's not that good, but you can see like from 0 to this, you're like, oh snap. Like what's like, I see 0 to 1 and that like seems pretty massive, even though it still sucks. Like 1 to like 100 is probably going to be like very, very good at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like there's some cool stuff you can make as opposed to, I don't want to start a fight, but some other relatively hyped things that haven't really done much other than commit giant frauds. It feels like there's more obvious places to like add value to the world. So we'll see. And like, do kids' homework for them. So, there's that.
Yeah. You don't think there's going to be any like grifts with making avatar profile pictures for $20 a
Oh,
pop.
I mean, it's all, yeah, there's always the gold rush. And there's probably already like bot accounts promoting crypto, like random like cryptocurrencies that are just AI anyway. So it's like, it's all related. My next one is Muse. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but I've been liking this a lot. It's like I think actually, I know new Mac OS has, I forgot what it's called, a whiteboard app of some kind. I forgot what it's called. It does? Yeah, maybe.
Like on iPad or?
Both. I think both.
What? Where?
So I haven't actually tried that because I haven't upgraded my Mac OS yet.
Where do I find this thing at?
I forgot what it's called. I guess I should look it up, but I'll look it up after this. But anyway, I've been using Muse, which is cool. It's independent, like an more indie sort of like, it's spun out of like a research lab. That's pretty cool. They do a lot of cool stuff. And one of the co-founders is a guy from Heroku who started Heroku, which is cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really like it. It's like very, it's the first iPad app I've used really routinely. And it's basically just like an infinite canvas where you can like drop links, drop text, drop images, PDFs, and then you can like scribble on it. And then they have a Mac app that you can use. And then they just are in like alpha, which we're testing a little bit for like a Teams product, which is just like collaborative version. The thing I like about it is like, I feel Notion has elements of this because it's like a block-based sort of thing. You can like drag, and it's a little bit messy in a way that I think I like in some ways. Like it can be a place where you're doing the thinking as opposed to like sometimes even like GitHub feels like you're more like specifying a thing. Like here's my to-do list, and it's like a set thing. Whereas like Notion has a little more like it feels a little more fluid than that in a way that I like. But Muse is like even more before that. If you're thinking of like the production pipeline as like my brain has thoughts, and then like at the end is like I'm writing a help center article that's like a concrete like deliverable thing. I need to be very like I have a rigorous process around that. Muse is at the front end of that process, and like Notion is somewhere in the middle. So I've been liking that a lot, and I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what else they do with it, and it's also cool because it's like a local first sort of style. Like it doesn't really matter for most users, but it's an interesting, like they have a really good podcast actually called MetaMuse that I would definitely suggest checking out, where they talk through like tools for thought and kind of stuff like this. So when you start to hear that too, it kind of makes you even more interested in the product because they're doing a lot of interesting things with how like the syncing works and stuff like that. So
how they build it.
Yeah, like how and like more and like how what they're trying to tackle and what they're not trying to do, and how they're trying to sort of like evolve the like current cloud first, web first like world a little bit. Like these are native apps and they're syncing in more unique, interesting ways. So anyway, check it out. It's pretty cool.
Cool nerd.
The podcast has fast become, it's like I think it comes out like once or twice a month, but it's usually the one. It's like one
classic developer conference.
I always listen to it.
Or podcast.
Yeah. I listen to it every single time. So check it out.
Yeah, I feel like those are like the most common. Like if you can get a dev community going, it's like the most thriving community. It's just like the
what's
hardest
interesting
thing to get going.
Yeah, they also have like a Discord community, and I mean it's interesting because a lot of I can't quite tell what the like profile of their user is, but they have like students, researchers, like anyone who has like all these like source material, and they're trying to like get it all in one place.
Yeah,
it seems to resonate with them. So I guess like Good Notes and those would probably be like comparable competitors or something. So.
Yeah, my Tony works at like a dev tech company, and they were trying to come up with shirts. Like what do they put on their shirt? Like what should their shirts say? And I don't know what you think of this, but my suggestion was that it should just say dev bod on the shirt.
Dev bod?
Dev bod. She thought it was good, but she didn't want to tell. She didn't want to. No?
It's a little bit, stereotyping a little bit. There.
Well, it's, it might be true. You might be like well, I guess I can't like there's dad bod. I mean, I'm dad bod. So like if I'd wear a shirt that said dad bod.
All right, Christmas
It's a
gift
slight
idea.
deviation.
File it away.
All right, time to break away for our weekly sponsor, which is Punchlist.com. Kyle and I have been using Punchlist.com for probably the past 2 years. We absolutely love it. It's just the easiest way possible to get quick feedback on specific parts of some kind of creative asset. That creative asset could be your live marketing website, or it could be some sort of document like a PDF, or maybe some sort of illustration that's going to go on your marketing website. One of the things that we like most is just all the different ways that you can give feedback. So traditionally, if you're using email or some sort of project management tool, you're probably just mostly using text to describe your feedback. They bring everything in. So, for example, a lot of times Kyle likes to draw things on a whiteboard, or maybe draw something out via his iPad using his iPad pencil. And he can give some feedback really quickly, and then just attach that specific image that he wants to send over that he created on the iPad. Or in my case, a lot of times I like to describe things on video, but they make it really easy to just leave a quick video there, so you can give your quick text feedback, but then also give additional context through something like a video. So definitely check it out. You can go to the website right now and sign up. And if you use the promo code GRIT, you'll get 1 free month or 10% off any of the monthly plans. So definitely go check it out. All right, back to the show. Okay, so I have another one that has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with my work. But I think I don't know why, I just think it's really cool. It's called felt.com.
Oh, I was going to mention, kind of related to Felt, related to Muse, they actually spun up a little, I don't know, free info site that's called infinitecanvas.tools. I think Felt might be on there. So that's what reminded me of it. That's a cool place to go check out. It's like a showcase of all the different Canvas-based tools, and there's some cool stuff that I'd never heard of on there. So check that out.
What is is that just that you have a big canvas,
like a Figma, or big a 2D, Notion is sort of one dimension,
whiteboard style.
Yeah, you can kind of move stuff, or Miro, all those kind of things.
Yep, cool.
So anyway, back to you.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it is. So if you're the type of person that's making a lot of maps, I'm not, but if I was, I'd be using this tool. No. This tool is badass.
When I first saw this, I just went and started using it, and I was I don't know what I'm I have nothing to do here, but it just seems cool, and I want to use it.
You could I think you could do, well, maybe it doesn't make sense since it's just you guys going to Europe, but if you were going on a trip with a bunch of people, a bachelor party or something, I could see this being a fun little, just okay, finally I found my chance to use this thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been looking for, is a group, some sort of collaborative trip thing. Cause I found I was going to do it for something, but I'm I think I'm just doing this. It's a hobby You're
forcing it.
I can also just write bullets on my own notepad, and that's all I needed to do. But anyway,
but it's awesome. I mean, you can definitely when you get into it, you can sign up for free. You can easily see how this would be super useful for somebody from CNN or something talking about the war in Ukraine or whatever, and wanting to have some sort of interactive. It doesn't even have to be interactive, just a picture of a map and designing it in the way that you want. I think they did such a good job in terms of giving the ability to customize these apps, use templates, different styles, that it sort of makes you think about your own products or things that you want to build. It's how can I utilize some of this, some of these ways that they're doing this, in my own world?
Are there patterns you can pull out and try to use?
Yeah. So I have no use for maps, but it's really, really, really well done in terms of their product. So I would definitely go check it out. Mess around with it, you can see what other people make public maps, so you can if you have a login, you can go in and there's just a ton of different maps for everything that people have made that are all interactive and just it's just cool. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's awesome. So I would definitely go check it out. It'll definitely give you some inspiration if you're building product, because they do a really good job.
Yeah, I think it's and that's kind of what I like about Muse too. It's kind of the direct manipulation kind of thing, like making these things just feel intuitive. Like you want to add a pin, so you just click the pin and like put it on the thing. I remember doing this with Google Maps, like on trips in the past, where I've tried to like with groups, like here are some places we could go, and you can build lists and stuff, and it's like it works, but it's much more work than it feels like it should be to just be like, I'm not trying to like, I don't need the like, I don't necessarily need the exact like latitude of these places, nor do I know it, or I don't necessarily need like the star rating in Google. This feels like a nice mix of like quickly do stuff in ways that feel intuitive, but it's still like it's not just a picture of a map. Like it's still an actual map, which is pretty cool.
You can do some crazy stuff too. Like you can like upload data. Like there's certain files they accept, and you can upload data and it'll just like populate a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's
like on the map, which is nuts. Yeah, like that example right there. So I guess I subscribe to like their like product newsletter or whatever, their updates. Like it's just interesting to see like the stuff, like everything they're doing is like pretty wild. So I just like I'm sort of just like, I don't care at all about their product in terms of like using
Maybe we should have that. Yeah.
But
maybe we should have them on. I mean, these kind of things always interest me. Like if you find like I said, the MetaMuse podcast is they talk about this kind of stuff. Like it's stuff that I would never like dive in. This?
Yeah.
But it's just cool to like get exposed to different ways. And it's always really cool to run into a product that you don't use or have any need for, that you're just like kind of obsessed with. Like that's pretty powerful. So that's like
so you can imagine like map people, like
they're just going nuts on this thing.
Yeah. Like talk about, if we're talking about nerds, like map people,
nerd, cartography,
map nerds. Yeah. What does that t-shirt look like? Like what is Felt going to do in terms of their t-shirt? I'm interested to see. I'll be here to watch.
We can have them on.
Map nerds. Day.
Yeah. Let's see.
Map perfectionist.
Inside,
I thought that was a softball for you to like come up with one of your like
a joke. Well, I couldn't think of their
a play on names, words,
because their product names are like literally what they are or something. It's like pre-built. I'm like, oh, that's the name of the product. All right, cool.
Wait, don't throw any shade at them. That's
no, I'm not. It's not bad. It's just like there's no like pun there. It's just like, yeah, this is what it is.
Yep.
In the spirit of developer stuff, I recently came across this. I kind of was like digging around something that has come up a lot over the past years of being a developer and like growing teams is like, how do you measure success? I don't want to, that's like there's a whole podcast about, I'm sure there's like 35 million podcasts about that. But for me personally, I've always found that I've never been a huge fan of like the estimation and all that stuff. Like how many points are we going to do and all that stuff. What resonates more with me is like, find something that fits well with you and your team, and then find metrics that sort of measure what you're doing and look at them. You're not using them as like targets necessarily. Like, because I think, what is the saying? Like when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure because you're just like optimizing for it. But anyway, so I was looking around I always am like, have my eyes out for cool things that, especially if they're somewhat automated, kind of like give you metrics around how your process is going on the development side. And so Swarmia is something we've used. Code Climate has one called Velocity that I've looked at, and this is similar, but it's a pretty cool tool that just kind of like analyzes your pull requests and your issues and stuff, and shows you like where you're spending your time, like what categories of work are you spending your time on, which is another thing I felt was always missing when it's like we estimated all this stuff, but it's like, well, are we building the right stuff? Like, what are we even doing, right? It's like, yeah, we shipped all the points we said we'd ship, but like no one cared or whatever. So I kind of like like that's a separate task, and we just have to like trust that we're doing that, or get feedback on that in some other way that has nothing to do with engineering, and let the engineering part is more of like we try, at least for us, we try to keep like cycle time low, like keep pull requests smaller, try to keep like basically keep our shipping speed high, our tempo high.
They got some good graphs.
Yeah, so and it's like these graphs are really nice. I don't even log into it. So I've been using it for, I don't know, a couple months. And the cool thing too is like, I don't use it a ton because they have like a Slack integration. So they'll just send you can set up like little thresholds to be like, if our cycle time goes beyond this for some reason, just like let us know. And so it's nice to see, like I'll randomly just get that and be like, oh shoot, I should go check it out. And then we can like figure out. Usually it's like, oh yeah, this got to be a bigger project. But anyway, it's a cool thing.
That's what I want. We were talking about this earlier today, but that's basically what I want for like support. But like more specific, it's like it's support. So like all these support. I mean, we use Intercom. Intercom has a lot of like analytics and stuff, but we have, and I would assume a lot of people have like things that are more specific to us and like our product. Kind of in the way that, what was the product that Twilio bought? Segment. It's almost like taking Segment, but focusing on like support analytics off of that somehow. Like, I don't know.
So you like standardized analytics across all support?
Yeah. It's like we have very specific analytics to us. So like the out of the box analytics that Intercom provides are like fine, but that's not really like, we have some stuff that Intercom like wouldn't be able to see that would tell us a lot about, resolution times of different things and that sort of thing, but it's specific to us and like our product and like our situation. So I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, some of that might be, sometimes I think we use like Intercom, and I mean, it's probably, we're not the only ones using it that way, but I think we do use it. We tend to like lean on it for anything in that like customer comms category, where I'm sure like if you're some massive company, you're probably like pretty strict about it. But yeah, I think to your point, I don't think I've seen this type of thing for like, I think of the shift in, not the shift, but like the evolution of engineering, like process from waterfall to like agile. And then it's all like sprints and burn down and all that crap. And then this is more of like a Kanban, like throughput based type stuff. I guess there's some of that in the support metrics you see, but yeah, I've always liked this because I think there's going to be you mentioned Gong earlier until TLDV. It's like there's going to, if you have a big enough team, you're probably going to have a coaching aspect or like a training oversight sort of like audit aspect that's qualitative mostly. And so I think if you couple that with like this, I think that's all you need. I don't think you need to be like our mean time. I mean, you can keep an eye on like time to resolution if you want, just like to know it. But I'm like, sometimes you want to leave a conversation unresolved. Yeah. Like that's the right thing to do.
And no, you just want to see it's not about like everyone has to meet these metrics. It's sort of like, I want to make sure I have that if I need to see it. So like if something were to happen internally and it's like, why is this happening? And then you go dig through the data, you're looking for something out of the ordinary or whatever, but you have the data there. Like, I think it's more for that and just being able to see, and then also like just being able to see sort of like trends across like people or teams or whatever.
Yeah. Like something I like that they do that I've seen is like throughput and stuff, but you can do it like per person on the team, just as a, like not literally at the individual level, but it's just like divided by number of people. Mm-hmm. So as you scale, you can make sure you're not like, whoa, we added 5 people and we're actually like super slow now. Like we need to maybe like step back and see what's going on with our process.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's my,
that's awesome.
Okay. So we are a bit over my target time here. So you can do one more if you want. This will be my last one. What do you got? What do you got left on the list?
I mean, the only other thing I have on the list is Video Ask, which I feel like is a little bit more well known because it's basically just it's Typeform's other product. We've been using it for Hire with Grit to basically automate like getting like a quick video interview. And there's other tools out there that do video interviews and stuff, but like we just wanted something really simple where we could send a link with a video of me asking a question. After they fill some apply on the site or something like that, they get a video from me asking them to tell me more about their self and like their experience and that sort of thing. And I just think, it's basically just a form, but like I feel like in certain situations where you do want to get you want to get more context or you want to get really just want to get video context without having to like actually get on a call with people. It just makes it really easy to get to both give like a video to somebody, but also get that, that answer or feedback or whatever it is via video. And you can create forms. I mean, you basically can do everything, like pretty much everything you can do with Typeform, but like everything, instead of it being like text focused, it's just like, it's all video focused. Which, I think feels a little bit more personal. And if you have a situation where you want something to be a little bit more personal, I think it's like it's a good fit for those situations. And obviously being Typeform, like they integrate with a ton of different things. So yeah, it's pretty, like, I don't know if, it's a good fit for every use case, but like for us, like with the hiring and wanting to get, I want to essentially see people speak on camera about something without having to get on a call with every single person. In this case, like it's just, makes that really easy. So that's something I've been using a little bit, for that business. And, I can't remember if we used it for something. I think we maybe used it to gather like testimonials in the past or something. Yeah. With user feed.
I was going to say, I think what's cool, there's so many, I mean, even similar to Clap, which I mentioned earlier, there's so many things, and Zip Message, which we've used before, which has like has some overlap with Video Ask, but also has like other features. There's so many cool things, and Loom, of course, is like the big one. There's so many cool products in the video space, and it seems like they all have, there's some overlap, but there's also like some differentiation. And it just feels like we're still in the early days of like what the future of, especially for asynchronous teams. That's something I think a lot about. Is I have like whole notes written about this where I have like all these ideas that probably don't make any sense, or I'm the only one who would ever want them. But it feels like, especially if you're asynchronous, a lot of the tooling doesn't work great, specifically for internal collaboration.
Yeah.
But because like so many of the tools are like, let's get on a call and like whiteboard stuff together, which is, I mean, valuable to have, of course. But so much of our work is like, it's not happening at the same exact moment. So, but anyway, all that to say, I think these tools are cool because it's like, especially for client facing or customer facing stuff, you can like have correspondence with a human touch that's kind of opt-in and async by default, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
I actually remember we started using this when they first were building it, and like we talked about potentially like somehow integrating it into user feed back in the day.
Yeah.
Like as like a feature you could embed. I don't know. We never built it, so we never got very far. But it was a cool idea.
I mean, it's basically what it's kind of the same use case as like Intercom, except for like doing it, just focusing on doing it from like a video perspective instead of like a text perspective. So I think that was like sort of the general idea. But I actually think that a lot of people are using it that way. Like I think if feedback is like one of their biggest use cases. We might even be on their website, to be honest. I think,
we were for a minute.
Well, yeah. Josh, if Josh is listening to this, Josh is on there.
Yeah, somewhere. Let's see.
Testimonials? Feedback? It might be feedback. I think it's the feedback one. Come on.
Oh, in the use case tab?
Yeah. I mean? Come on. We're there.
These are all opening a new tab, so it's taking me a little bit of doing.
So we did use it for feedback purposes because we're on their website for it.
Well, I mean, we thought about building it into the actual product so our customers could use it.
When they were first. Yeah, that was cool. Like I mean, obviously Typeform is a massive business at this point. Damn.
Maybe not.
No, maybe it is under testimonials.
This is just in this episode, we'll just watch me Google stuff and see if we can figure it out.
The cool thing was, so the way they went about it was interesting because they're obviously Typeform's a huge company, and this was sort of like like a new product for them. The way they seemed like they went about it was sort of like a special project for the founder. He was like, so they created like a Slack group, and I mean, this was like early. This is like right when they released like the ability to use it at all, and it was all free and everything, and it was in beta. And the founder was in there. Like I had multiple conversations with him. Like he was super active in there. Like it was like, he's starting from like nothing, right? Like probably what he did when he started Typeform. Yeah. But it was like just him. Like there was no one else in there like talking about anything. It was like he was in there.
He was the only person. Yeah.
Yeah. Like for all I know, he was like the one person like building this thing, and they have like, hundreds of employees at Typeform.
It's interesting that they built it. I remember thinking this in the beginning. Like it's interesting that they built it separate as a separate thing.
Yeah. Well, it might be different now. I don't know.
It's a very different, like it's a complete, but like you could have seen them trying to hack it into like, oh, and you have a new input. It's a video input. But I think it's better the way they did it. I think it makes more sense as like a standalone thing. But
yeah, that's all the stuff that I have. I mean, I obviously use other things, but I think those are some of the ones that I would say are less common things that people use. So hopefully you took one or two of these things and you can use those things. I don't know if do you have any more?
I was
shutting it down because I feel like I kind of gave. I gotta go.
I will say I will mention one more just because I feel like it's related to what I was talking about, which is it's called Switchboard. It's actually I found it on that infinitecanvas.tools website. Let me pull it up real quick. Let's see here. Try to share my thing again. So it's very close to like the kind of thing I've thought about like using, like I've dreamt of having access to and using for our team. It's not quite, and this goes back to like so many people I even just talk to in the world. It's like everyone's talking about remote and all this, and obviously we're a little bit different because we've been doing that before the pandemic. So for a lot of people, it's still very like they're trying to transition out of some other culture or something and figure that all out. So a lot of these tools feel like they're coming from that place, like which I think there's a lot of customers there. Like, hey, you have a terrible process because you just kind of like woke up and had to do this. So use our thing. So that's kind of what it feels like with this, is that it's still built for synchronous collaboration, but it could be, it feels so close to what I think would be so cool, which is you can kind of see in this little demo, but it's like,
are those browser tabs?
Yes. So it's like so it's a canvas, and then you join, these are like rooms on the side, and you join a room, and then you can do video or audio, obviously. Nice. And then you can add like things to the canvas, and the things can just be web browsers, which is pretty cool.
Interesting.
You can have like Notion docs or literally anything. I mean, it's a web browser, and it from my understanding, I've only barely tried it out, but it will like try to remember stuff. So like a room will be preserved in some way, like the at least the URLs that you had open. So when you come back to the room, it should still be like the same stuff. Which is really cool. So like you talk about higher fidelity conversations, like to me, this type of thing, if you could, instead of having to be like, we're all here together talking about docs, it's like if you could attach comments to these things, like browser windows as blocks or as standalone documents. And if you could leave like video comments, like, or audio comments, where I could just like come in and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. And then like you could just check it later, like that kind of thing. It feels like a cool blend of pull in all the stuff you already use and then also have like an asynchronous conversation like on top of it. So I don't know. It's still not quite there, but we'll see.
Well, this is definitely a podcast where you probably should not listen to the podcast and like go watch YouTube.
Yeah. Well,
this is like our way of like making people go watch our YouTube channel, is to like everything we talked about is
I'm showing for anyone who's not watching, I am actually showing like their websites on the
everything
thing,
is
except for like the first one. So check it out. Check out the YouTube channel, subscribe, like and subscribe, whatever people say on YouTube.
By the way, on their market, like how do you go about getting Time Magazine Best Inventions of 2022? Oh
yeah. Pretty
Is
cool.
Time Magazine like still a thing?
Yeah, I guess. And I actually looked at this.
I sold them Rigger back in the day. Like they were like a big deal. Now,
I would suggest, so what Landon is referencing for those of you on the audio only, Switchboard, the thing I just talked about, was named one of Time's best inventions of 2022, which I clicked on. If you go to their website, Switchboard.app, they have a link to that article, and it's actually pretty, like I went there when I saw that, and I just looked at all the other stuff. There's some pretty cool stuff in here. Some of it I knew about, but a lot of it I did not. So check it out.
We did a podcast about like stuff we like or something, like, or maybe it was like we just at the end of certain podcasts,
we were kind of doing it randomly. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the ones that one of the things was like a physical thing. It was that this was like, I want to say
shoulder
like
ride thing
2 years ago. Yeah, like 2 years ago, you could put it was like a seat that would go this like harness that would go over you, and then it was like a seat like off. Instead of you putting your child like on your shoulders, I mean, you're basically doing that. They're sitting like sort of on a chair, and that was Time's
but it's not a
best
hiking
invention.
pack. It's not like a hiking pack or whatever. It's like something in between.
Yeah. It was. I think it was Time's like #1 invention of like 2018 or something. I've used it like
twice.
Yeah. I mean,
it's those things are hard because you have to carry it around when you're not using it to like have it available.
Yeah.
So
it actually doesn't feel like for a while it's fine, and then you're like, what are these? I don't even like. Are these lats? I don't know what this is, but they start to hurt. Like it starts to hurt, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. It's been like, why is this already hurting after like 20 minutes? I could just put the kid on my shoulders, and it would be the same level of like
wasn't that
pain
the whole
that I'm feeling
point
right
of
now.
this thing? Yeah.
Well, the only difference is like instead of having to hold your kid's like legs, you can just be down.
Okay.
You don't, but it still like hurts.
But if it's hurting your
them,
shoulders and stuff, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. So I've worn it a couple times. I went to the Braves World Series parade with it. So like,
I was gonna say like you're the guy with the kid on the shoulders at the game. That's not cool,
dude. I was on like on TV. I was on
not at the game though. Importantly,
not at the game, but at the parade that lasted for literally 1 second while they like flew by it.
They were going like 70 miles an hour.
They were.
Yeah. Luckily, I did not bother to go to that. I think that's in the archive somewhere. I think we talked about that.
They should have interviewed me they interviewed me like 11, it's like one of the local news channels. And I wish they would have done it like after. I'd have been like, dude, what just happened? Like they've like every time Atlanta tries to do something that's, I don't know, historic or whatever, they like totally botch it. Like we have the parade for the World Series, and for some reason all the cars like drove by at like 90 miles an hour and nobody like saw anybody. And they also almost arrested one of the Braves players like on accident.
That part was really
the police.
Rich. Yeah, that was awesome.
And then of course we had the MARTA incident where they tried to, it's this. They tried to
the imploding Georgia Dome moment.
Yep, there it is. They tried they were imploding our Georgia Dome, and the camera feeds on it, and right as
a bus just stops right in front of it.
And
we'll put the link in the show notes. A bus just like ruins this guy's camera angle, which is pretty funny.
It's amazing. It's very Atlanta.
But it made it so much better. Like if that had just been like an imploding building, we would have never watched that video again. But now it's
exactly.
Now you have a piece of art.
Now I have an art. Yeah, I have art in my room that shows that event happening. Anyways.
Sweet. All right. Well, this was the shameless plugs episode. We'll mention all these people on all the socials to try to get some love. And this was our what we're thankful for. Maybe the Thanksgiving / Christmas tools that are cool for gifts or for we're thankful for. Some mix.
We might get one more pod in before the end of the year, but
it'll be close.
Based on our
I'm not going to make any promises now.
But it's been a lot of stuff going on that has made it harder. And
we'll
also
talk more
our
work stuff maybe next time.
All our kids have been sick like every week. So
yes.
That's not been good.
'Tis the season. Sweet. All right.
Until
next time.
Cheers.
See ya.